AutoCrear automatic electrical creepage and clearance analysis with CAD data or eCAD data. My name is Urs Simler from GIA Informatik, and I'd like to talk a little bit about analysis of clearance. Clearance is just a spark can jump through the air from one network to another one, or creepage is that the current can travel over the insulation and it will destroy, let's say, the component. So clearance and creepage is quite dangerous because it can occur when electrical nets are placed too close to each other, when short circuits are produced, and as we can see in the next pictures, it can destroy your equipment, your components, and I think we have to avoid it at any cost. I think it's mandatory that these distances are guaranteed for your products, and it depends on the voltage difference of the potentials of the networks, on the pollution degree, and on the insulation classes. With that information, you can go for tables, maybe from UL or from IEC, and we'll find out, depending on the material, on the voltage difference, you need a certain distance. I mean, you can do that until now by hand, measuring in the CAD environment by hand, but that's quite dangerous because you will not find all the shortest distances. Therefore, with AutoCrear, it automatically calculates the clearance distance, the shortest path through the air, and the creepage distance, the shortest path along the surfaces of the insulators. In addition to that, also the aspect of the groove widths will be taken into account, and at the end you'll get, let's say, the real distances on your virtual prototypes, and you can be sure, okay, this distance is too long or too short or what else, or it's quite close to the requirements. So the highlights of AutoCrears are the following points. It's applicable for all CAD systems, Inventor, CATIA, Creo, Siemens NX, what else? Everything can be analyzed, and since 1 year it's also possible to analyze PCBs. There is no additional data, external data preparation required. And you'll see later on that the workflow in AutoCrear, it's quite easy to learn. And also the session management, it's very easy to handle. In addition to that, everybody gets free viewers, so then everybody which is in that process can have a look at the results. And I think that's one of the most important thing. AutoCrear generates a report in minutes, and I think if you have to report anything by hand, it takes you hours or days. But let's have a look at the live presentation. We will import mechanical data, PCB data, and we'll do analysis, and we'll create some reports. So I'm changing to the AutoCrear itself, and here I'm going to open import and assembly. In that case, it will be a step file coming from a CAD system. This takes a few seconds to import the CAD data. Here we see the CAD data, everything is in red. That means for me no material is assigned so far. I can click on the components and I can assign the so-called CTI value. And by activating this option here, the defined parts will disappear. So it's quite easy to do that. Holding down the control key, I'm adding here plastic material or insulator material to my components. This one needs also to be assigned a CTI value, and the other one, by box selecting it, I'm setting them conductive. Everything disappears, and I can see in gray that are the conductive parts, and blue that are the insulators. Okay, as a next step, I will select these components here, and I can define them as a shrink wrap. So by setting a type to spring, a tube will be created for the analysis in order to uh, analyze the worst case scenario. The same you can do here with the screws. I'm assigning here a screw option. Therefore, this screw will be analyzed as a cylindrical part. Okay, in addition to that, sometimes we have some single parts, and these parts here, they need to have some surfaces or regions which are conductive. Therefore, I'm selecting them by holding down the Control key. I'm expanding convex regions and I'm setting them conductive, and everything is done. Now I can apply this metadata to my components, and I'm getting here to the next step here, the workflow, where I can define my net here. I can select those nets, I can walk through them here, and of course I could also go in and say, okay, I want to see here only the conductors or the insulators, depending on your needs. Here I can also see here additional components. Okay, now I'm going in and I will, let's say, merge some nets here. That guy and this guy behind here has to be merged. This guy here and that guy here has to be merged. Okay, so the number of nets will be reduced. Now I'm naming all that net. So the naming of the network is done, and now I'm defining if they have a potential or not. I'm just moving them to the potential region. I'm moving that one to the ground area, and here is just touchable components. Here we can also have a look here at the computable mesh here. Okay, and you see the spring, and let's say the screw is replaced with a shrink wrap for the analysis. Next step here, I'm defining some voltage values for my components. Here we have around 100 volts, 200, 320, minus 100, and minus 60 volts. Okay, I'm applying my nets, and as a next step, I'm just checking one source, maybe between main B and main E. I'm typing in some manual values here for creepage, group width, and clearance, and I'm computing this actual source. Because it's only one, it will just take a few seconds, and then I will see the results if I have some violations or not. Here I can see I have one violation. In addition to that, it might be also possible to bring in here for the analysis a threshold, maybe of 5%. And if I compute the selected source again, I will see I'm getting some minor and major violations. Okay, now we see the results here, and here we can select those paths, we can highlight them, we can create some automatic windows, and when we spin around here, we can see everything needed. So I think this might be quite critical, this area here, and then I could, let's say, bring in or save the positions. I could do quite a lot of things for, let's say, specific combination of my networks. But quite often I'd like to analyze the whole component. Therefore, I can use, let's say, standard tables here. And with the help of standard tables, some rules are coming in depending on the quality of my insulators, depending on the voltage differences. The clearance and creepage distances will be assigned for each network combination. Now I can say, okay, I want to compute all the sources. Incredible, within 2 minutes here, AutoCrear calculates all my creepage and clearance distances, even on a laptop which is 3 years old. And now I can go here for some combinations again. We see the paths. In addition to that, here we can save some special camera positions, maybe for the documentation here. I'm doing here 2 of them, and we can also add comments here in order to document it. And of course, we can also save those passes as a step file and bringing it back to the CAD system. We see here also the passes itself, so there are a lot of functionality to analyze these creepage and clearance paths. But I think one of the most important functions is here the documentation capabilities. I can define here some layouts. I can save them. I'm loading here a layout. This layout includes maybe the title here of the company. It includes an image and so on. And by clicking here on that guy, I can create my document. But maybe before I'm saving here my work, I save the session and I call it live en for English. Okay, I'm going to save it, and now I'm doing here the documentation. So I say, okay, create the document. This is live en. It creates a PDF. Okay, now it's running, and during the time I'm going for my viewer. Okay, here we have, here we have the viewer, and in this viewer we are loading the session we closed before. And here, let's say all the people in your company who are interested in that process of creepage and clearance analysis, they can go for this viewer. They see my comments I created just before. They can have a look at those paths. They can create path windows, and they can really take part at these clearance and creepage processes. In the meanwhile, documentation is coming to the end, and I think this is also very important. This viewer, you can go with that viewer or send that data to the proving, maybe to UL and so. So it's quite easy for this institute to see the results you did for that. We see right now the analysis results, very good structured here, the electrical nets, the part list, the analysis settings, what kind of tables we created. We see an analysis summary, and of course here we see also, let's say, the behavior of my components. Here we see our screenshots, and here we can also see the comment I did on that one. So it's really a document created within minutes. You usually need days or weeks to create that thing. But let's go back for my AutoCrear, because in AutoCrear, not the viewer here, in AutoCrear itself, this is here. I'd like to go back for my metadata, and I want to bring in some additional components. Here I have the capability to bring in here maybe a PCB with the help of a ODB++ data set. I can bring in my PCB, and if I create an assembly before where I'm creating detailed representation of my components. I can import here, let's say, the very detailed shape of my PCB. Right now it's coming in. Of course, I should place it here in the right position. I'm just selecting here the PCB and I'm going for assembling it with the help of some coincident points. Just selecting here on the first point, this point here has to be matched with that point here. I'm accepting it and now I have the right position. And in addition to that, I'm bringing in an additional mechanical component. Again, it's a step file of a frame. Okay, this step file is coming in. Okay, it will be placed here. I'm selecting again this step file. I want to replace it, and in that case, I'm using here some position values. Okay, now I have the correct position here. I'm accepting this position. I'm selecting here the components. I'm setting them as conductive. Here this guy is assigned with a plastic value. And in addition to that, I'm going to apply my metadata. Okay, and with the help of an ROF file here, I can also, let's say, adjust here the networks of my PCB. I'm creating here some groups and everything is assigned in this group because quite often I have to make sure that my distances between the groups have a certain distance and therefore this is a very big help. Okay, of course now because I loaded them, I have to define my networks again, but it's no problem. I will apply these networks, then I will analyze this, but the analysis on my old laptop takes about 40 minutes, therefore I'm loading here a session. Okay, the actual session will not be saved. This is my old session I created this morning, and with that new session also the results are loaded, and here in that area we see again our results. We can highlight those passes, we can zoom in, we can do the post-processing also on an assembly with PCB and additional data. So very convenient way to do full detailed analysis of your creepage and clearance passes. Let's go back to my PowerPoint and let's have a look at the benefit. I think the time aspect is very important here. Imagine you have to manually measure, document the creepage and clearance passes. It will take you hours, days, weeks, depending on the complexity of the assembly, and I think you will miss some passes. So let's say this time is shortened dramatically. And I think doing this kind of analysis is much more safe with software than doing it manually, because manually you will miss some violation and you will get unsafe products and recalls of the products. And as I told you before, this automatically generated report will help you quite a lot if you have to show, let's say, your work to the inspection authorities. So I think this is also very important, and as we saw, this report can be created very easily. And I think with the help of AutoCrear, you get the possibility to create much more compact products here. And nowadays, I think it's very important to have smaller products, to have compact products, and this assists you in an incredible way here. And of course, if you do not have to do some unnecessary change loops, you save time, and by avoiding some product recalls, you will also save quite a lot of costs. So, if you need any additional information, do not hesitate to contact us. For technical questions, contact me or similar, or for commercial questions, contact Daniel Losley. If you want to have some more information, you can go here for our web page of AutoCrear and get there some additional information. So in the end, thanks a lot for your time. I hope you saw the positive aspects of AutoCrear. AutoCrear, a software for all CAD data, PCB data, in order to analyze the electrical creepage and clearance analysis of your products. Thanks a lot. Bye.